Welcome, beloved, to Acting My Script, the podcast where destinies are reborn and faith finds fresh fire. I'm your host, Israel Akpovoke. We've been dealing with our series titled, Do You Know Who You Are? The last episode was kind of so good, and there were demands of us giving more details, and we felt we should give a part 2 of it. The part 2 is titled a bit differently, but it's the same. It's like the opposite of what happens when you don't know who you are, and we're going to title it today as The Power of Knowing Yourself. Episode 25, The Power of Knowing Yourself. In our last episode, we explained what happens when you don't know who you are. The pain, confusion, and lost potential that come when identity is unclear. But today, let's flip that coin a little bit. Let's talk about what happens when you do know who you are. When you walk in clarity, confidence, and divine conviction. Knowing yourself is not arrogance, my friend. It's alignment. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. That'd be nice if you direct life instead of allowing life to direct you, as it were. Today's conversation is not about discovering who others say you are. It's about rediscovering who God says you've always been. Let's look at identity births motivation. That's it. It births motivation. Gideon's awakening. Gideon saw himself as weak and unworthy, but God called him a mighty man of valor. His transformation began not when his enemies changed, but when his identities did. Let's look at some teaching points from this as regards Gideon. God calls you based on your potential, not your present condition. By the way, I once had a pastor who was one of my pastors in those days in Lagos, in Nigeria. Each time I greet him, or I observe that when people greet him, when they see him, his response was, sir. He will answer you back, sir. I feel that we should be greeting our pastor with that kind of respect by telling him, sir. So when I tell him, sir, he will tell me, sir, back to me. Then I ask him, pastor, why are you always answering everybody back with sir? Why? He said, because I see your potential. So when I tell you sir back, I'm recognizing the potential that is in you, not your present state. That was what the pastor told me, and I keyed into that thinking. God calls you based on your potential, not your present condition. Your present condition might look very insignificant. People will write you off based on your present condition. People will not look at you as important. People will talk you down. People will look down on you. But God calls you based on your potential because he made you and he knows your potential. He made it himself anyway. Once Gideon believed who he was, courage and strategy followed. You see, your current situation, which may look insignificant, if you follow it yourself as a person, if you do not know who you are, if you know who you are, you will have peace even when you are in your present situation. And once you can get that understanding and you walk in that light of who you really are, your courage will change. Your perspective will change. Your style will change. I was once a timid person. When I didn't know who I was, I didn't know what God wrote in my book for me. The plan of God for me, I never knew it. I was a fearful person because of that. I wasn't sure of the next day at all. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure of my tomorrow. I see tomorrow as bleak. I was not even sure I could make it. But the day God opened my eyes, after I read Psalm 139, and God told me there that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and God opened my eyes to see the plan He has for me, that I am not a nobody, that I'm a special person. I started walking with courage. I pride myself. Even when I'm stepping my feet on the ground, I pride myself in that confidence that God is having my back, that God has made a good plan for me, that I'm going to make it, that I'm not going to waste away just like that, that I didn't just come to add to the number on planet Earth. I walk with that confidence. I walk in style. Once Gideon believed who he was, courage and strategy followed. Before he knew who he was, Gideon was hiding. When they were chasing, when the Philistines were coming to cut away all their harvest, Gideon was hiding. Gideon was running. Gideon could not face his fear. That is what happens. Motivation flows from revelation, my friend, not emotion. Let's look at, apart from the story of Gideon, which is a perfect example, let's look at the life of Nelson Mandela. Despite imprisonment, he never lost sight of who he was. He saw himself as a liberator. Knowing himself gave him the strength to endure and lead with forgiveness rather than vengeance. A man who was in prison for 27 years, he did not die in prison. You know what kept him alive? What he saw. What he saw based on who he knows he is. He endured. That gave him the motivation to endure. I'm a liberator. I'm meant to liberate these people. If I give in to this suffer and I die like this, what will become of these people? I must stay on. I must hold on. I will never quit. If I quit, my people are done. That was what kept him. You can't fight effectively if you are still questioning who is holding the sword. You are the one holding the sword, my friend. Therefore, you should be able to hold that sword very well. Hold it very well. Ambition anchored in identity. Nehemiah, the rebuilder himself, in Nehemiah chapter 2, 17 to 20. Here's an example of Nehemiah, a man who heard of Jerusalem ruins. He didn't see destruction. He saw destiny. His ambition was anchored in identity. He knew he was a restorer, not a spectator. He knew he must be in the thick of the battle. My friend, purpose-driven ambition resists distraction. True ambition is not about competition. It's about completion. Finishing what God started in you. I remember what one of my pastors told me many years ago. He said, Israel, I don't believe in action. I believe in result. What does that mean? You have to finish. You can't give an excuse. You can't tell people I started the race. Like somebody going to school and he attended lectures and he wrote an exam and he failed. Nobody will know what you put in. The preparation, how you studied for your exams is the result that will tell how much you put in. If you failed, you have not, as far as we are concerned, you went there to waste your time. Even if you were not playing, but the result says you are not a serious person. I do not believe in result. I do not believe in action. I believe in result, my friend. Don't forget that. True ambition is not about competition. It's about completion. finishing what God started in you. That should be your watchword. When identity is clear, persistence is automatic. Let's look at another example of a popular person, Serena Williams. Her confidence was not arrogance. She trained, she fell, and rose again because she knew her identity wasn't defined by a match, but by mastery. Serena Williams may have lost some of her matches, but each time she loses, she will go back and train. She will go back and correct herself. And she became one of the greatest women in lawn tennis sports. And she won a lot of Grand Slams because she refused to remain on the ground even when she failed. Even when she lost, she refused. That should be the spirit, my friend. What is one dream you have abandoned because you forgot who you were? Let's take a cue from the life of Serena Williams, Nelson Mandela, or even Nehemiah. These are people that started before us. There is the philosopher who said, those who started ahead of us should serve as an example for us who are coming from behind, so that we will now learn from them. They should be our source of motivation. If Serena Williams can make it, if Nehemiah can make it, we can also make it. The opportunity is there. When you start the little one you want to do, God will breathe on your effort and you cannot miss it. I want you to think very well, and I ask that question again. What is one dream you've abandoned because you forgot who you were? Maybe that dream still has your name on it. That dream, it may still have your name on it. It may have been custom made for you by God himself. And if you abandon it, that may just be the little key that you need to bust out and make it in life. Identity gives ambition direction. Ambition without identity becomes frustration. Decision making from a place of self-knowledge. Jesus had this temptation in Matthew chapter 4, 1-11. Satan tempted Jesus to prove his identity. If you are the Son of God, look at the question. If you are the statement. But Jesus didn't argue or prove. He knew who he was. His decision flowed from conviction, not confusion. When you know who you are, you won't negotiate your values for validation. When you know who you are, your identity becomes your filter for decisions. Is it moral? Is it relational? Is it spiritual? Daniel was distinguished in Daniel chapter 6 verse 3 because he made decisions consistent with his divine DNA. Oprah Winfrey is a good example again. She turned public rejection into redirection because she decided, I am not defined by what I do, but by who I am. You don't have to prove who you are when you already know whose you are. I would like you to declare boldly as we try to round up. If you know who you are, you will declare this boldly. I don't chase approval. I walk in purpose. My ambition is anchored in who God says I am. My decisions reflect divine direction. Excuse me. I am equipped, chosen, and unstoppable in Christ. The enemy attacks your identity because he fears your clarity. Once you know who you are, every battle becomes an opportunity. Do you want me to repeat that? Once you know who you are, every battle becomes an opportunity. What would you attempt if you were fully convinced of who God says you are? Who have you allowed to name you that God never authorized? I ask the question in another way. Which person have you allowed to give you a name that God never authorized? I want you to reject all those things in prayer. Because I know who I am, today I will become great. Today, you can put whatever you want to put to end that statement. Because I know who I am, today I will complete that project. Be specific. Today, I know even though I may have been dumped in marriage or by my boyfriend, today I will get a better man. Today I will be better than this. Put in any word you like. Complete that sentence. Whatever you put there depends on your conviction. In our next episode, we will uncover how to live daily for your true identity. Not just knowing who you are, but walking in it boldly. I want you to subscribe. Share this message with someone who is trying to rediscovering his worth. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok. And join the Acting My Script Global Conversation. You are not waiting to become someone. You already are. Now act your script. God bless you.